Hello everybody! Today we neuroscientists come to these talks called We Are Scientists to explain our job. That is why we have titled it as We Are Neuroscientists. So let's go to study the brain. First of all, let's explain what is science. Science is a widely used word, but not everyone knows its meaning. When we use the word science, we mean the knowledge we gain by looking at the world and conducting experiments. We are surrounded by science every moment of our lives, far more than we realize. Everything we learn from observation and experimentation is science. So you might ask me, don't shower me for 3 weeks to see if my skin turns green. Is it science? Yes, what if? That's science. Not very healthy science, but science. And honestly, science smells bad a lot more times than scientists like to admit it. But please, try with cleaner experiment. We have to live with each other. Thus, a scientist is someone who works in science. And just as we have explained that science is everywhere, is it impossible for anyone to know about all areas of science? That is why there are many types of scientists, depending on the area that they have studied. For example, if a scientist has specialized in the study of the planets and stars of the universe, we will call this scientist an astronomer. But if he has decided to study fossils to learn about ancient life forms, like dinosaurs, and probably end up creating a Jurassic Park, he is called a paleontologist. We are another type of scientist. We are neuroscientists. A neuroscientist is a scientist specialized in neuroscience. But then, what is neuroscience? Neuroscience is the scientific study of the nervous system and all its aspects. Let's explain then what the nervous system is. The nervous system is a network of nerves and cells that we have throughout our body. It is the one who allows us to do things, like walk, cycle, swim, eat, and much more. And also it allows us to obtain any information through our senses, like if it's cold or hot, if we are hungry, if something is soft, or if the food is hot spicy. This happens by signals moving to and from different parts of the body. For example, when we touch something that is boiling with our fingers, this information is transmitted throughout the entire nervous system to the brain. The brain will then send a message throughout the nervous system to move the muscles to remove the finger and not burn them. As you can see, the nervous system is very important, and that's why all animals more advanced than sponge have nervous system. So sadly, SpongeBob doesn't have a nervous system, and if he touches something that is boiling, he won't remove his fingers and he will burn. Luckily, he lives under the sea, where there's no fire, so don't be worried. Knowing its importance, we are going to study its parts. Basically, the nervous system is made up of two parts. We call the first part the central nervous system, and it is located in the head and along the backbone. Here we find one of the most famous parts of the nervous system, the brain, along with another not so well known, the spinal cord. The brain is the command center of your body, and the spinal cord is the pathway for messages sent by the brain to the body and from the body to the brain. The spinal cord starts at the head and continues along the entire backbone, connecting the brain with the other part of the nervous system, the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system is formed by ganglia and nerves. The ganglia are made up of collections of the parts of the cells that receive information, while the nerves are the collections of the parts of the same cells than the ganglia, but these parts are the ones that carry these informations. These cells are known as neurons and are all over our body. These neurons look a little bit like a tree and are formed by different parts. First one is the nucleus that organizes and keeps neuron functional. They are like the heart of the neuron. Then we have the dendrites that look like the branches of this neuron tree and work receiving the information. This information then flows along the axon that looks like the trunk of this neuron tree, and it reaches the axon's terminals that are similar to the roots. This axon terminals is where this neuron is going to connect to another neurons and transfer the information. Think of a plug, a length of wire and a socket at the other end of the wire. Then imagine a big pile of leads connecting to sockets. From neuron to neuron, this information is going to arrive to the brain. And here we come to the king of the nervous system. The brain is the central computer of our body, and is it responsible for almost everything that happens in it. It takes care of everything, from movement or vision, to balance, breathing, or even your personality. And despite its importance, there are still many things that we don't know about it. We know more about the universe than about how our own brain works. And it is vital to know how it works in order to learn how to cure when it doesn't work well. This is why researching is so important. And that is our job. Neuroscientists are constantly studying the brain and trying to figure out how to unravel its mysteries. We are like the detectives of the brain. As a group of detectives, we are specialized in the cases of damaged brains. We study the brain of people who have suffered a traumatic injury. We need to study it to learn what is happening inside the brain, if the patients are going to recover well or not, if the treatment is working, and many more questions that today still have no answer. To find the answer of these questions, there are different techniques that we use. One commonly used technique is to directly view an image of the brain with a scanner. There are many different types of scanner, and each gives us a different image and information. For example, if you use X-ray, you will see an image of the skull, and you can check if there is any fracture in it or not. While in PET, the color one in the slide, the PET scan, you can see the blood flow, the use of oxygen, how your body works, or if the brain is using the sugar properly or not, and much more information. Another way that we have to check the state of the brain is also by analyzing different samples. The most common samples tested are blood, urine, and saliva. From them, we can check the levels of different molecules that are related to problems in the brain, such as glucose, another word for sugar, for example, or any others. It is also possible to go directly to the core of the problem and to analyze the brain fluid. As we are not vampires, this has been our option. No matter what kind of sample you choose, there are two ways of analyzing it. The first one is by analyzing it individually. That means that one chemist or biologist is going to process each of the samples to find the levels of different molecules. This is a slow process with a high probability of human errors, because our eyes are not perfect, our hands are not perfect, and sometimes we can put the wrong amount of the chemical that we are using to help see what the sample contains and cause a little mistake. Another way that we have to analyze samples is by examining them through a monitor. In this case, the analysis is performed automatically by a machine, and this machine will display the results on a screen. This process is called monitoring, and it is faster and safer than the individual analysis. It also has fewer human errors because the analysis is done by a machine. Currently, the devices that are being used for monitoring are outdated technology. These machines require not only waiting for more than 1 hour to obtain each of the samples, but they also need that a nurse manually insert the sample into the machine, wasting the time of that nurse. Our project consists of a device that is directly connected to the patient, thus achieving continuous monitoring. This continuous monitoring allows us a faster treatment adjustment than with the current device. We have called this project the Commit project, and we are the Commit team. Let's see it. If we use both systems for the same patient and this patient had a complication, with the Commit device we will detect it very quickly and we could treat it when it happened. With the current method that is represented here as a lovely turtle, we will be very late and we will have to run, maybe causing more complication to this patient. And in this slide you can see all the participants of this Commit project. We are 8 quite different people with different careers, because there are many different paths to become a neuroscientist. That is why, although we are all neuroscientists, each of us has a different job in the group, but they are all essential, like a gear. If one fails, we all fail. Let's go to explain some of these jobs.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Agnieszka. I am a doctor, namely a brain surgeon and a neuroscientist. Brain surgeons, also called neurosurgeons, are doctors operating on the nervous system. What do you think clinical means? Clinical means related to the medicine. So I work as a doctor on medical aspects of research studies. One of my duties as a doctor is to talk to patients and families who sustain head injury as a result of a fall or road traffic accident and see if they are willing to participate in research. If they are happy to take part in the study, I connect a tiny sensor to monitor function of patient's brain by looking at the substances which help to feed the brain. It is a bit like looking at little molecules dance under a magnifying glass. Who will invite whom to dance? And who will leave the dance floor? In order to become a neuroscientist, my first step after completing school was to study medicine. I enjoyed my studies a lot. I could understand how our body works and what signals to look for to recognize a particular illness. It was even more fascinating to learn how to cure it. So I studied and I studied and studied for many years to eventually become a neurosurgeon. To achieve it, I had to examine and repair rare brains. Since I have always loved working with and helping children in need, I studied even more to specialize in brain surgery in children. And I have to say that I love my patients. It is extremely satisfying to be able to improve lives of ill people. Also, I have been always intrigued how complex the brain is. Thus, I love studying how it is built and how it works. Do you know that the brain doesn't feel pain? The other beauty of neurosurgery is the combination of neurosciences with hand-on art of surgery. It is like being a sculptor, but applying in your craft all the scientific stuff that you have learned. What else is so good about the job of neurosurgeon? It is really too cool to operate on the brain under the microscope. Can you imagine exploring the micro world of the inside of the body through a PlayStation? This is how it feels. And if you are Doctor Strange, you can of course add some magic and superpowers to your craft as well. But even then, the brain will hold some secrets hidden from your sight. Do you maybe remember when Winnie the Pooh was looking for Piglet in his house once? The more he looked inside, the more Piglet wasn't there. It is a very similar situation when looking for brain secrets. The more scientists look inside the brain, the more answers aren't there. When we reveal one mystery of the brain, there are much more questions to be asked. You can never get bored.
Hello everyone, my name is Farah and I'm working on the technological side of the project. I am working on the design and the creation of the sensor and evaluating the results we obtain. I found my way here once I finished school by studying microelectronics and nanotechnology engineering. This is what tiny engineering looks like. I was able to visit the Burke Nanotechnology Center in the USA and live there for 8 months. Then I started researching at the University of Cambridge, where I joined the sensor project. Here are some of the things I love the most about my job. First, I get to explore things that have never been done before. Second, I get to solve problems and difficult challenges. Third, I get to work with fun and really intelligent people. Finally, I get to use science to help people and potentially save people's lives. Did you know that engineers can solve all the problems you didn't even know you had in a way you don't understand?
Hello everybody, my name is Nuria and I work on the analytical part of the project. Our sensor will be designed to work directly connected to the patient. But to get to that point, we first have to do a lot of work to teach the sensor. And as always, the best way to learn is through practice. This is where I come in. My job is to prepare many samples with many probabilities and analyze them with the sensor to see if everything is working. I also have to look for all the problems that we may have in the future. I'm basically a troublemaker. To get my way here, once I finished school, first of all, I studied chemistry. It is a very interesting degree. I have been evacuated twice from class due to problems in the labs. But leaving that aside, the truth is that I really liked studying it because it is a very practical degree. You really do things. You go to the lab and see in real life what you are learning in class. You use fire, you use ice. It is very cool. Also, you can read in a book things like beryllium tastes sweet and is extremely toxic. And I find that is, well, curious. And of course, they teach you how to make bombs. After graduating, I specialized in analytical chemistry to discover that nothing is what it seems. It is surprising to see everything that is hidden in a seemingly normal transparent liquid. And with this study, I was able to go to the United States, sadly not at the same time than Farah. This is one of the best things about research. We travel a lot and we are able to meet some of the smartest people in the world. After all this, I moved to Cambridge to join the Sensor project, where I met this amazing team. Well, I am quite sure that with everything I have explained to you, it is not necessary that I continue trying to convince you about how fun it is to do chemistry. But just in case, let's go there. To me, one of the best things about my current job is having the option to study very interesting things like how does the brain work and get paid for it. I will do it alone at my house with Google, so it is perfect if I can do it in a suitable environment and learn it from people who really know about it. Also, I love that everything I have learned in my life can be used to really help people. I've had many jobs in my life, but this one really makes me feel like I am doing something to improve the world. I have seen the patients, and now I know that there is something I can do for them, despite my fear of needles. Also, I find very cool to be using samples of real people. So, in summary, we can say that chemistry is like magic. Sometimes you mix two white liquids and get a green one. By learning chemistry, you will learn why that is happening. And not only that trick, but all the tricks of the nature, because everything is chemistry. There is chemistry in every breath you take, in the water that we drink, or in the color of the walls of your room. Thanks to chemistry, you can discover how old is a painting or create a new drug for any illness. Isn't that magic?
So, you still have a few years to go before you can be a chemist, a doctor, or an engineer. But until then, there is something you can do to help. Most importantly, help us to prevent head injuries. Maybe you are thinking, oh yes, but that is easier said than done. Then let's just try to follow some easy rules. For example, you can wear a helmet while participating in sports that require it. When you are cycling or playing contact sports like rugby, wear it. If you are swimming or doing ballet, it is probably not necessary. The other important advice, always, but always wear your seatbelt when you are in the car. In this case, there are no excuses. Also in taxi or in the bus if possible. You know very well that it can save your life. Another point that I should pay more attention to myself is keeping order on the floor of the house. Why I have not mentioned order in cupboards or on the table? Let's look at this example. Imagine you have this messy staircase and your friend Tim has come to visit your room upstairs. He can easily trip over some of these things on the stairs, fall and suffer from a head trauma. He could even require a brain surgery as a result of that fall. Obviously, we don't want that to happen. If you would like to discover more ideas of how to prevent a head injury, please follow the link at the bottom of this slide. There is another thing you can do if you want to make a change. You can study to become a neuroscientist. Would you like to become a neuroscientist? I leave this question open for discussion. If you are interested in helping others, remember that there are lots of opportunities in neurosciences and many ways to get involved in research. And now, thank you for your time and attention from the whole commit team, and I will open the floor to your questions.